convention like, John?
Let's see, my first convention was actually in San Antonio. And in San Antonio, this is sort of reflective of what happened to Enterprise. They had neglected to determine whether or not the show was actually aired in San Antonio. It wasn't. So I think we had like 8 people. I was thinking, I don't think our show's going to do too well. It was like me and her and her and him and him, and we chatted for a little while. We all had breakfast, and that was it. Went home. Yeah.
Like a 12-step Star Trek meeting.
Yeah.
So
UPN in the States did not have what they call great market penetration. So one of the reasons our show went off the air is because people all over the country were only getting it either intermittently, it would be canceled for the local high school basketball game, or not at all. So I eventually went to some that were a little more impressive, but right out of the gate I thought, uh-oh.
UPN is the network it showed on. It became known as You Pretend Network, right? Yeah.
Who would up next? Oh, someone here on the front row. Here, darling, let me help you out.
Just a question, like, what was the biggest conventions you've been to? I'm not sure if this was asked when I was out, but like the numbers, like, if it, like, awed you.
The biggest convention is probably held in Germany. The FedCon convention.
Yeah.
3,000 or 4,000 absolutely pie-eyed Germans. I mean, drunk to the gills. They would even give your people a run for their money.
Yeah. It's only when the applause and the stomping starts to get in unison that you get a little worried.
Yeah. Most of the actors have learned to be pretty liquored up when they get on stage. As sort of at least,
it's like being in a boy band there.
Yeah, it is.
And I just took my t-shirt right off.
I took my pants off the last time I was there. I was following Edward James Olmos and the gal who played Nichelle Nichols, both of whom are absolutely lovely people, but have a certain serious mien. And I felt like the only way I could hold an audience after that was to come on basically buck naked and drunk. It worked like a charm, actually. My wife was there to kind of rein me in and keep me from going too far. But
they pre-booked him for 10 years.
Yeah, that's right. I'll be playing Germany again this year.
Oh, and all the security there, the guy that runs it, Dirk, he's an ex-biker in Germany. And all his security staff are Hell's Angels. And they could give a fuck about Star Trek, let me tell you. So they're pushing you around like you're just cattle. No, this way, this way, this way. But it's quite an experience, I have to say. But the first time when I walked out, and that's our theme song music played, and I mean, there must have been 5,000 people, and the flashes are going off, and it's just, what? This is nuts. But very fun.
Another, I like this idea of running around and giving the microphone to people. Anybody have a question down here?
I have a question for Rene.
I'm never going to do that again.
I thought you were doing your bird. Bird sound. Yes.
Bring back the bird.
You said you're not so keen on doing realistic things, but your role on Boston Legal was basically to pull Denny and Alan their heads out of the clouds. Did you ever want like a more...
Was that euphemistically?
Did you ever want a more, like a wacky storyline for Paul Lewiston, or...?
No, I was, you know, that job came out of the blue. Most of the time, character actors, and I don't mean to speak for these guys, but it's probably true, we just hope we're going to get a job. And
it's true.
Honestly, I had just finished a show in New York, and I came back home, and it was the summertime, and I remember sitting in my studio, and I thought, you know, I doubt I'm not going to audition anymore. I'm too tired of sitting in hallways and being rejected, and I was old enough that I didn't need to do that anymore, and I thought, well, you know, I probably, and this phone call came, and the job was offered to me. I had worked for David Kelly a number of times before, and the producer-director of it was a director I had worked with years ago in a little independent film, and they just offered me this role. They had already shot 4 of the episodes, and David Kelly decided they needed a serious character to sort of ground the craziness that was going on in the show. And so it was like a lottery ticket that came to me, and I was just delighted to do it, and loved the scripts, loved the point of view of the show, was proud about its political slant, and
Sat in the hallway for 4 hours for that job. I was just back up.
So I was, you know, delighted to do it, and I did it for, what, 3 or 4 years, and at a certain point the character had run its course, and, you know, any other company would have just written me out of the show, and they didn't do that. They just moved my office to a sort of imaginary upstairs in the place, and then they brought me back near the end to wrap it up and sell the firm, and they continued to be very generous to me. And
it's a great gig.
Just touch me. Yeah, but that'll cost. Anyway, I sort of forgot what the question was, but no, I didn't want it to be any crazier than it was. I was happy to be doing what I was doing, and I had some good meaty sections with my daughter, episodes with my daughter who was a drug addict, and I got to carry on and have emotional outbursts, so it's a great gig.
This is for Odo, and how was it to work with Avery Brooks?
Well, that's the last 10 minutes then.
Avery Brooks. You know, listening to these guys talk about all the laughter and the fun they had on their sets. I have this theory that the tenor and the kind of the atmosphere on any given set, especially in Star Trek, in some weird way is dictated by the captain. And Avery, to say the least, is a very intense character, a very serious man. Took the work very seriously, took himself very seriously. There was not a lot of laughter on our set. It was, well, I think that was also the nature of Deep Space Nine. It was the neurotic version of Star Trek. We were the dysfunctional crew, and Avery represented that. I mean, listen, Avery Brooks is a great actor. I had seen him do a lot of wonderful classical work, Shakespearean, Greek theater, and I have nothing but great admiration for him as an actor. But it wasn't like we became great buddies. We weren't enemies, but there was Avery Brooks, as opposed to I know that Patrick Stewart, and because I know all those guys on that show, I mean, they were constantly laughing and backslapping and having a great old time. And I think it was true on your show. I don't think it was particularly true on Voyager with Kate. I think there was a different tenor. And this is not a judgment.
Especially after 7 of 9 came in.
Go ahead.
Especially after 7, they got 7 of 9 on board. I know that got under her skin.
Yeah, that got serious. So, you know, that's the answer to that question. I hope it suffices.